Holy cows, has it ever been one crazy Friday at PRGE 2025? All the big Intellivision homebrew announcements that are to come. You're going to see lots of videos here in the next 12 to 24 hours. But then Oscar Toledo Gutierrez announces his 2025 Halloween special, Pumpkin Taxi. Can't wait to play that one. There'll be a video very soon. But probably the biggest announcement of them all is Atari has announced that they've finally taken the Intellivision license and created a system to release to everybody, the Intellivision Sprint. There's a lot of pros and a lot of cons and even more discussion because there's a lot of things that people like about the system, but there seems to be an awful lot of things that people don't like about it as well. So, I don't know, Coco. I guess I'm going to take a look at the whole thing. We'll run over the video that Atari released, plus the information from the website. And let's see what you think and what I think about this whole system and what I feel about the new release as a fan of both Atari and Intellivision from way back in the day.
If you haven't grown up by the age of 50, you don't have to.
Alright guys, let's start off by taking a look at the website. This is what I saw first of all this morning because it came out on the website a little bit before the video was released on YouTube. We'll look at that video again as well because frankly, a few of the questions that I had after looking at this website in the descriptions down below, I won't say were answered by the video, but it got a little bit of clarification anyway. But it also, it sort of reinforce some of my questions as well. But anyways, take a look. It's a great look at the video's playing in the background there. But let's go on to where it says pre-order and we'll take a look at the actual game. Same video. Are we into it? There we go. Yeah, so there's a picture of it, you know, and what you see here is it looks like standard old Intellivision console, right? The immediate question that I had when I saw these pictures this morning, and I'll look at some of the other pictures as well, there's nothing really to judge it by. So I wasn't sure at the time of what the size was, okay? Like, is this a system that is like 80% of the size of the original like the Atari was? Because, and the reason that sort of comes to a question is right here in this picture. Take a look at the controllers here. Of course, we know that these are going to be wireless controllers, which brings up other questions, but it's very interesting to me that there are two distinctly different size controllers in this picture. I don't understand. They're sort of side by side. It's not trying to make it look like one is closer than the other. So I hope that they are regular size controllers. And if you, again, this is curious right here, but if you look at the picture of the regular console, of course, it looks about the same, but you'll notice some other little things in the video itself. You can see it here actually as well. If you look at a real Intellivision system like I have sitting right here, there's a certain distance in between where the two controllers meet. And it's actually where the cables went up in is hollow, right? On the original Intellivision. In here, that's where your wireless connections are going to connect in. So that's obviously filled, but it's also much shorter. So maybe some of the savings they had in size, because you can be guaranteed that the inside, the actual computer portion of the console can be smaller than it was back in 1982 without issue, or 1979 actually. But things like the controllers, you really don't want to mess around with that because those controllers, to me, a lot of people have trouble with them as they are because their hands are too big or whatever, because they take some serious manipulation. If you made them any smaller, it would be much more difficult. Now, throughout the video, throughout this here, I do notice that there's no pictures of somebody holding one, which is where you would get a good aspect. I truly believe, though, I'm not at PRGE this year, that there should be some videos come out of PRGE, and I expect there to be samples shown there. So hopefully I'll get some pictures to show you as well later in the weekend from PRGE, but for now I don't have them, and I'm just sort of curious. I think that they're the regular full-size controllers, and they've just made the console a little bit more, less long, I'll say. It looks like it's just as deep and almost as thick, but it's not quite as long, okay? And there's a couple reasons, like, you know, they could really make it much smaller. It's almost to facilitate the controllers, right? Anyway, let's keep scrolling down a little bit, and we'll look at the actual thing. So the overview. Experience the other side of the console war. Released to compete with Atari 2600, the Intellivision challenged Atari's dominance in living rooms and created a rivalry that's become known as the first console war. Absolutely. Now, I didn't really live through the console war because I was lucky enough to have an Atari as my system, and I had family with an Intellivision, my brother-in-law, which I ended up with it now. That's the Intellivision that I have here today, right over there. I love saying that I have that original Intellivision because it means a lot to me, right? So I didn't consider it a war. I loved Atari. I loved Intellivision. When people say, oh, one's terrible, one's not. No, they were both awesome. So who cares, right? So anyway, for its 45th anniversary, 79 and 45, it'll be 46 here soon. December 3rd, it'll be 46. But anyway, the Intellivision Sprint brings 45 of the system's best games back to living rooms, now upgraded with HDMI and wireless controllers. Play Boulder Dash in its first official Intellivision release. Kinda. Along with classic favorites Baseball, Shark, Astro Smash, and more. Each game comes with new overlays that map the game's specific controls. And I guess that's aimed a little bit at people who aren't as familiar with the Intellivision, because frankly, I was always sort of wondering how Atari would take this Intellivision and bring it into the masses in the modern day, because the base... It's a well-known fact that the base for Intellivision is approximately 10% of that of the base for Atari 2600, right? Sold 10% of the consoles, about 3 million versus 30 million. That being said, I'm very happy to say, and it's a great Intellivision homebrew community, Intellivision community. People who love the system are very, very fierce in their love of the system. So I really do think this is going to be a success for Atari in that regard, as long as they live up and present some benefits to the people who want to use Atari today. And the bottom line is, right out of the box, be able to hook it up. People say most everything that's here we can already do. You can if you're so inclined to make it work, but this is going to be right out of the box and working. So anyway, okay, let's go on to the next part. Let's look at the actual features. And the features are 45 built-in games, including Boulder Dash, Shark, Baseball, and more. I'm going to say Boulder Dash. It says first ever official Intellivision release. First official release by Intellivision, but of course that's an Electronite game. Electronite did have a leased copy. I should dig it out. Why did I not do that? I have it right here. Electronite's release right here of Boulder Dash, and this is the version that's going to be on this system. It is an official release. It just wasn't released by Intellivision. It was released by Electronite, right? So, but this is going to be the first official release by Intellivision, okay? This game is not available digitally either. So it's very difficult to play HDMI. It's very difficult to play on a new screen, on a new system, a new television. So this is a big boon for Intellivision to be able to bring this game, this great historic game, to the system. Anyway, I just wanted to make that little note that Electronite did properly license that game when they brought it to the Intellivision. 2 wireless controllers. Classic disc controllers have been updated to be wireless and rechargeable. Simply dock into the console to charge. Again, sounds familiar to another Intellivision system we all remember from days gone by, of which we shall not speak. But do I have concerns with wireless controllers? Not really. We'll see if there's lag or not. Hopefully there isn't, but the modern day technology makes this very plausible. And I love the fact that they can recharge. I tell you, I would kind of like it if there's an option to plug them in. Maybe there will be. It doesn't talk about it, but maybe there's going to be an option to have a wired controller as well, for just in case, right? Just in case. I would like that to be possible. But anyway, it's not that important. I'm anxious to see those wireless controllers and how they work. Overlays for every game, each with new designs, including 2 overlays for each game. That means if there's 45 games, there's 90 overlays, right? Except the overlays are double-sided. And somewhere else is going to say there's like 48 or 46 overlays or like that, and they're double-sided. I'm going to put up a picture right here, which leads me to believe like these overlays, and I'm going to show you an overlaid. I don't know if I go right up to the large picture or not here on my screen. Right there. No, that's not it. Here it is. Look, I'm going to show you an overlay right here. That's Super Mario Brothers overlay. One-sided. It's got the plasticky feel, just like the original system back in 1979 to 1982, or right through 89, really. And that has a great feeling overlay. Done by Phil Boland, actually, by the way. I'll go back down to the bottom here. And I look at the picture here. Here's the picture again of the overlays that are in the system. They're double-sided. They look to me to be more cardboardy, thick type of overlay, and they're going to put printing on both sides. So are you going to use these? I don't know if they're going to be practical or not. So we'll have to wait and see what these overlays look like, but I'm a little hesitant with those. If you're buying this to collect them, great. If you're buying them to use them, cardboard overlays that have come with homebrews have not been all that great to use, in my background. Anyway, that's what I've found. What else? A USB-A port can connect original Intellivision 2 and 2 controllers with adapter. Can also be used to play additional games. Sold separately. This is really curious. Can be used to connect original Intellivision 2. Bang, over. Does this mean that now we'll be able to connect an Intellivision 2 to your Intellivision Sprint, and then your Intellivision 2 all of a sudden is a cartridge port? It's possible, okay? It's not stated that it is, but you could decipher it that way. Intellivision 2 controllers with adapter could also be used to play additional games. Okay, so and 2 controllers. So of course, Intellivision 2 controllers are the ones that detach. So you'd have to get an adapter to plug because there's USB ports on this, which we'll look at in a minute as well. So, yeah, it's sort of like more questions than answers, but possibilities. And possibilities are positive, okay? Because one thing about possibilities, even if it isn't that way out of the box, people tend to be able to do things with it to make it work. So I'm sort of anxious about that. I like that. Kind of weird to hook up a Intellivision 2 to use as your cartridge port. But if it works, it works, right? And then you can run it HDMI, full resolution, pump through the Sprint's system. I don't know. It's going to be, I don't know. Maybe somebody will have the answer for us at PRG this weekend. But still, might as well be positive about it, right? Adapters for the other controllers. I don't know why Intellivision 3 controllers wouldn't work. Or other Sears controllers. Why wouldn't Sears controllers work as well? It doesn't say that there. It specifically says Intellivision 2. Again, that's very curious. Maybe they just don't want to mention Sears because they don't have the license for that. So just other wired controllers with a port will work. Can be used to play additional games sold separately. Now, what does this mean? This is a USB-A port. Does this mean they're going to sell sticks that have games on them? Does this mean that they can hook up their Intellivision 2 and then you can put other games? And yeah, you would have had to have bought that cartridge to use on your in your Intellivision 2 through the Sprint onto your big screen TV. So does it mean that? It might. That might be just what it means. Or maybe they're marketing more games. I don't know. But rest assured this, again, like I said before, if the port is there, people will access it. People will figure it out, and there will be more games added to the system. The big thing about the 2600, it was more difficult because there were no ports, right? So anyway, yeah, that's pretty cool and very, very curious, I'll say. Availability. Couldn't believe this one. It really surprised me. December 2025. As a matter of fact, ships early December 2025. Pre-ordering today. So that's like early December. So this is kind of scary, but it's like 6.5 weeks away. So 6.5 freaking weeks. Oh my God. Yeah. But then they've had lots of time to work on it. And why announce it? Companies tend to like to announce things way in advance, and then people are sort of anxious, and then things happen, and there are delays. They just didn't announce until they're so far along. So if they're confident enough to announce something for 6 weeks away, it must be almost ready. I would think that people are looking at it right now, PRGE. But anyway, package content's pretty standard. Intellivision Sprint console, 2 wireless controllers, 48, there it is, double-sided overlays, 45 built-in games, fair enough. USB power adapter, which is just the cord because the AC adapter is not included. So you need a block, I guess, an HDMI cable. Everything comes in an HDMI cable. If you're going to cut something out, cut out the HDMI cable because, I mean, if that'll save $5 or whatever off the console, don't give me another HDMI cable. I got a drawer full of them here. Anyway, whatever. They're always going to give us an HDMI cable. Full games list. Here it gets interesting. I don't want to read the whole thing. You got Armor Battle, Astro Smash, Auto Racing, B-17 Bomber, Baseball. I am going to read the whole thing, I guess. But what's interesting here is there are 41 original 125 games. There are 4 that are not, including, of course, Balderdash, which I already mentioned, but King of the Mountain is available there as well. Deep Pocket, Super Pro Pool and Billiards, and Takeover, all of which were prototypes were released later on. Boulder Dash is the only one that was actually created for the Intellivision from scratch well after the system was out. So still very neat to see. There's a few notable exceptions that aren't going to be available here. The AD&D games aren't there. Of course, they were just changed to Minotaur and Crown of Kings for other releases like the Flashback, but they're not even here at all. So that's kind of sucks because that's one of my favorite games, and those are both games that people absolutely love for the system. And the Tron games, of course, aren't here because they're big license games as well. Stuff like Lock and Chase, not there, you know. But there's some other notable games, but there's a lot of the standards there. Shark is there, Astro Smash is there, Space Battle and Space Spartans, and all the real INTV games like Body Slam, Super Pro Wrestling, Chip Shot, Super Pro Golf, they're all there. So, all right, so that's the entire list. Let's now go over and take a look at the video. All right, let's check out this video. There's so much to see here. It's crazy. I'm going to keep it right on there. Yes, I'm going to have the controls on the screen, but man, I'm going to have to pause it now and again. There were Atari fans back in the day, and there were Intellivision fans, and I was happy to be both. But it's true. People were one or the other for the most part, and sometimes they still kind of are. Neighbor versus neighbor. You get a lot of that even online nowadays. I don't understand it at all. Arcade versus sports. You got to pause right here because take a look at that one right there on the far side. What does Atari show for their arcade game? Centipede. What is missing from the list of 45 games? Centipede and Defender. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not their license. But why wouldn't they put that on there? Atari Soft it was at the time. Is it Atari license? I thought it still was. Why wouldn't it be on this Intellivision Sprint? Doesn't make any sense to me, that one. That and Defender. Pac-Man, okay. Other licenses involved, because they only had 3, right? But there's some other ones. There's some other ones that were almost done and released since. Dig Dug, for example. I don't think Dig Dug was on there. But anyway, I digress. Let's watch some more of the video. But this is what it was. It was arcade versus sports games back in the day. Neat clip right here. It shows the end of the Intellivision and the controller. I'll get more into that. And finally brought an end to the rivalry by becoming friends. And I just got one little thing to say about that. This is the exact same thing I said back when Atari bought Intellivision, the license for Intellivision, way back in the day. My statement was, this company that is now Atari saved Atari. Intellivision was in trouble for the better part, okay, at this point. Unfortunately, it worked out the way it did, but I was hoping and very hopeful that the same company that saved Atari could also save Intellivision by bringing the two together. So yes, this company, people still they have done such a great job of bringing Atari back from where it was that now people can't even differentiate in their mind and realize that this isn't Atari from 1980 or 1989 even, or it's a totally different company that just has the license and is doing a miraculous job in bringing it back to the forefront. And I had great prospect in the Intellivision being in the hands of these people. So here we go. And they are becoming friends? Sure they are. They are now the same company. So that is absolutely awesome. Atari didn't win. Intellivision didn't win. Intellivision lasted longer. Atari come back from the ashes like a great phoenix. And now they brought Intellivision in with them. So hopefully they keep going to the top. Anyway, that's my little digression on that. Let's watch some more of the video here. Intellivision Sprint brought to you by Atari. That is great. So take a look at the front. They're going to show the front of the panel, and it's going to show all the different USB ports. This is just obviously a print. It's not an actual system. But that right there, wireless controllers. But you have to notice that there was buttons there for syncing. There was Sync 1 and Sync 2. I got to scroll it back just to see it. Maybe if we can see it. Right. There's the 2 USB ports, as well as ports for controllers and the USB for other. There's the Sync 1 and Sync 2, but if you look really closely, what's kind of interesting there is that there are room for 4 buttons. So could it have been originally conceived that you could use 4 controllers with this? Or if you have 2 Sprints, you can actually get buttons in them, or there are buttons there that you can actually sync up 4 controllers. And that way you could just don't have to hand controllers off to play PGA golf or other 4-player games like bowling, for example. Interesting concept. Who knows? Is it possible? Plausible? What about the 4-player games that will be coming with the IntelliPort, right? Maybe this console will support 4 controllers right out of the get-go. Don't know that, but it's an interesting thing to think about. Anyway, okay, let's keep going a little bit more. Wireless controllers is also, if you catch the video at the end of that, there's actually a sync button on the end of the controller as well. Nice to see Balderdash up there, just like the one that I have here, straight. Astro Smash looking very small. A little bit of concern whether Astro Smash and Shark would still be available for this system. The system really does need it. Those are great games for the system. New overlays for every game. This is sort of going to show, like, if you get a clip of this, they kind of look very cardboardy, which I'm not real keen on, but that's okay. Intellivision Sprint, on your mark, get set, play. And that is great. Well, guys, that was my look at the Intellivision Sprint. I mean, what more am I going to say about it here, other than the fact that when I first saw it this morning, I put it up on Facebook, a couple posts, Intellivision Homebrew Group, Intellivision Invasion Group, you know, the real hotspots on Facebook for Intellivision news and updates. And I was really surprised, not surprised, I was really happy to see all the different comments that were made. And there were a lot of things brought up by people that you would fully expect. Like, the biggest thing that I saw was, there's no cartridge port, because people expected the cartridge port after the Atari 2600 Plus and the Atari 7800 Plus, and it's not there in this system. But I don't think that we're 100% sure that it's not going to be possible via the Intellivision 2, which is in the notes. It's sort of trying to decipher the statements on the website there, but I mean, that's possible. Maybe that's your cartridge port, right? Or the ability to add other games via the USB port yourself. They say sold separately. What are their plans for selling these games separately? What's Atari going to be doing with this? Are they going to be selling packages of games on a USB stick that you can add and go right into the memory of the system itself? Very interesting concepts. They could make agreements with Rev for Intellivision Revolution or Luke from Intellivision Collector and have all of his games put onto a memory stick and be able to sell those memory sticks with a cut going to the Intellivision homebrew publishers. It's plausible. It's possible. So there's all kinds of good things that could come out of this yet. And I'm not going to say it's bad at this point. I think it's great because it's progress. I love this company. This company has brought Atari back from the bottom and has made it a very significant company in the retro community nowadays. And when they first bought Intellivision, like I said, I think they can do the same thing around Intellivision, and this is step number one in doing so. So yeah, I am really happy about this, and I think that there's a lot of good things to come, and that we're going to learn more good things about this system in the near future. Anyway, that's my take on it. I'm going to get one. Absolutely, I'm going to get one. Why wouldn't I? I'll try those wireless controllers. That'll be a lot of fun. But and thank you so much for joining me here today as I look at the Intellivision Sprint. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, because it makes Coco happy when you do, and it makes me happy when Coco's happy. So until the next video, you all take care.
Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. Papa Pete, the old ass gamer.
Hi, I'm Luke from Intellivision Collector. You're watching Papa Pete, the old guy gamer.
What the hell?